All right, here we go again. Buckle up. Rough roads ahead. Here on my standard phone. No extra mic or anything. So, yeah, I went through. Again, what's happening is that the ears are opening up in my head. And I'm looking and I'm seeing that a lot of the things that I used to do, I wasn't doing. And again, it isn't by happenstance. They have the capability to will it down. So, when they will it down, over a period of time, multiple people, millionaires, billionaires, thousandaires. Again, they make sure that I don't have any money because they know that game. And that game is a demonic game. They'll go to hell with you. I told you pretty early on when I started speaking that God said to me, the key is, are these people safe around innocent creation? We realize most of these people are grifters. They're not going to get into heaven. Maybe, in the LDS way down the road somewhere, they're going to hell. I don't care how many cases they did to save people's lives. It's self promotion, it's self dealing, it's part of the cover story for the scam. They're Nazis, they're equivalent to Adolf Hitler. They're using psychology the way Mengele used medicine. There are people that have said, apparently for decades, that there's no way that this psychology is an investigative tool. There's just no way. It's like little kids, explaining something so ludicrously that there's no way they could ever be true. While self-dealing and running off on orgies, right? I understand not every last one, but a lot of them have sexual transmitted diseases. They're in that figure of all those numbers of people, right? And that they're trying to give that to their victim. They want their victims to have sexually transmitted diseases because they have. God. Thank you, Larry. They're sick. So I realize how they chipped away at it now. I mean, it took years for me to figure that out. Like I said, I just figured it out, began to figure it out when I was driving to get doctor's assistance when I was getting sick with the sinus infection and COVID. Right. I said, wait a minute, they're blocking me from healthcare. They're trying to block me from healthcare. No, it is no little thing. It takes a decade or more of wiring to do it, to begin it even. Right. Now, I guess you could probably do it in 4 to 5 years. But this is like every day, every day, every day. And then there's people they blocked from my life that would have been in my life. Again, I can't force people to be with me when the deep state, again, they call it the deep state, but there are Republicans. There's probably people who work for Trump that are deep state that did this and do it. So I'm not here to play that political game, but not to say that they're all Trump's people. 100%. Again, none of you are okay. You're all going to end your life and move off into hell, no matter how many religious societies you all join. So somebody's speaking and they're saying the eye opener is that she said, several statements over the years. And again, there is a she, right? And there are he's and she's. All it's not one person. It's thousands that were involved in this. Right? So apparently, she said if he would do the right thing, we would let him, do it. And if and that she's here, as part of protecting the churches and everything. Right? So again, the church comes in, starts recruiting me. And they're like, what's up? You're trying to block them from the church. You put people in the church. You said that would be allowed. See, because I never tried to go to the church in so many years, they poo-pooed it. But yet everybody before knew that they were in the churches, harassing the churches, intimidating, extorting the churches into not allowing me in and to operate against me. It's not paranoia. I'm actually pulling punches. I could actually describe it more in depth if you want. Murderers, their father is the devil. And then when they're absent in the body, they'll be present in hell. Remember, evil will not stand before God. They will not stand before God. They are already judged if you read the Bible. If you read the Bible, they have already been judged. So it's a really nice day here. Wonderful weather. So again, all those years they would say things like, well, it doesn't matter. He's got his life ahead of him. And they just have scam after scam after scam. Right? Yeah, so I know what's going on now with something. So a lot of it is that, people know that Satan will torment them in their trouble. They work with Satan. They create situations where Satan can torment the victim. They are Satan incarnate. As God said, Satan has no way on this planet without these people. No way. So each one of them is an incarnation of Satan. Now, you're not going to rule in hell. There's nothing in hell to rule. And they refuse to allow anything. Again, they chip away at what they can chip away. And I look at all the products I stopped buying as Inflamma stuff that I used to buy that was like a anti-inflammatory. I hadn't taken anti-inflammatories in years. It makes no sense. Everybody my age takes anti-inflammatories. Correct. So again, they can see it because you allow them to stalk their victim. So they can see all of a sudden they stop ordering something. They stop going to the gym. Right? They stop getting massage. Just you can't get to it. Right. So what happens is it's all false. So the planet is being destroyed by what they're doing. God's not going to let it exist. So they make statements about me, and all of a sudden I can't get to the church or to the get them out of here, or get to the gym. Why? Or the massage? Because they're anti-witnessing me. They're bearing false witness. Correct. And the planet's honoring it. So the planet will be destroyed because there's nothing here to fix what's broke. You get 10 of them together, they make a statement, and the planet honors it. And then there's walls, and I can't get places. I'm not here to play games with you. This is probably the greatest work of God on the planet, what I'm doing in my life. The entire time. The planet should never have existed. It's a lie. The entire planet's a lie. They pay all these people. That's how they do it. But they'll go to hell. Like you have everyday people. Like you have some 25-year-old girl driving down the road laughing because she's high as a kite. She's partying with the crew, and the crew's the people I speak about. Right? She's going to hell. She's already condemned to hell. There's no way for her to get out. But I'm interested in a 25-year-old. No, you're launching 25-year-olds in, and I speak to them and say hi. That's it. Did I once give one a card or a couple of cards? Yeah, because that was my defense against what you all were doing. Right. They'll go to hell. That's it. The fact is they took over the churches, they took over the religions, and they're pointing at everybody else saying they're going to hell. It's a scam. They're the ones that are going to go to hell. It's the way the way the scripture is structured. The everyday person that can't get out of their own way, they don't go to hell. They in no way go to hell. Because they aren't at a level of culpability. Again, the script, they gloss over all that, don't they? How many times have you found a preacher preaching on the culpability in the Bible? Who's culpable and who's not culpable? Now, years ago, I'd say, well, yeah, you don't want to tell people they're not culpable because then they won't accept Jesus. Right. But at this point, because of the way the churches and people affiliated with churches are using it, we need to do that. No, I mean, if you really understand what happened in my life, it's just there's nothing there. There was never anything there because of them. I mean, at a certain point, they just destroyed everything. Oh, they started wiring me years and years ago, before the '90s. Right? It wasn't as effective in the '80s. It wasn't even as effective in the '90s, but it was effective just by the sheer nature of time, the amount of time that would go. Oh, they're panicking, believe me, because there are people that are part of it that are freaking out. It's the first time, that they feel uncomfortable. A ton of them were fired to begin with. Trump fired a bunch of them. Again, I don't agree with the process because you may end up making them millionaires, multimillionaires. That's the point. You're going to end up with the second half of your administration is going to be all these lawsuits wanting monetary damages or money for damages. Immigrants, people fired. Now, I find it strange, but I find it fitting that the Doge people are serving their country. Well, that's a matter of opinion. You see how they're replacing veterans and whatnot. Right? Doge is serving their country. So they talk about Peru. I mean, there are people sitting out there in CIA laughing at them, but it's not funny. Why would we promote alpaca farming in Peru? But I guess maybe Elon Musk wants to promote coca cultivation in Peru because he's into that. Maybe Mr. Big Balls is into that, or that other Asian guy. I don't know what his name is. You're ignorant, all of you, and you're showing your ignorance to the world, including the Russians. That's why you get no respect from the Russians. It's kind of our Silk Road. So CIA and DEA would have an interest in alpaca farming in Peru to move the culture away from coca production. But again, I guess you don't care, do you? You high as a kite and you're all happy, right? Yeah, we work 24 hours a day. You see? Did you ever ask yourselves how they get that energy? Oh my God. You're probably drug addicts. No, you're addicts, all of you. Again, it's the quandary from all those years. If you're a rich drug user, you're not an addict, right? But they're serving their country. They're not even cleared to know what I just said, right? Right. Like that shows how ignorant they are. They have no idea what they're breaking. It's going to cost us more money. I guarantee the following administration is going to be Democratic Party, and they're going to find out how much money you cost us by cutting all those programs. In fact, we might see that in less than 2 years. Rick. We're pulling out of Africa, Russia, China, score. Well, Elon doesn't care. He'll hand over China, and he'll get another factory in China to build more cars. So first you irk me by saying that you're serving your country. Sipping lattes and snorting coke in government buildings. The fantasy. They're tearing down programs that we had in place so it wouldn't cost us money in the end. Well, you tell me that there was no way to track payments. I don't believe it. I've not seen any evidence. I didn't speak to a bean counter that worked for the government before you arrived to have them explain how they tracked it or how they could track it. You're just telling me that. Why? Because you're serving your country. You're a hero. As you hand everything over to the cartels. The cartels are quiet. Something's up. Agreed. But you wouldn't know that because you're a hero serving your country. Okay, sorry, Larry. I mean, God set them up that they would go public and go, oh, this ludicrous program of alpaca farming in Peru. Oh, but coca production in Peru is something you like, right? So we should just let that happen. So the idea is if we move some of that coca production to alpaca farming or herding or whatever it is, maybe the DEA could relax a little bit on that side of the interdiction. 100%. Agreed. Now, the hope is that as you move these immigrants out, that narcotics distribution will decrease, but there's no guarantee. These people might be protected. The real narcotics distributors that they allow to distribute might be protected. And, I mean, we don't see them going into $1 million neighborhoods, right? That's the people that are really bringing in the loads, right? Them and their police chief and their, whatever crooked officers are in the department. Just couldn't let me just sit there in my own apartment and build my ark. And every once in a while, I'll go to the store to buy supplies. Couldn't just let that happen, could you? Prohibited activity, right? Because I'm going to use it to groom people. Groom who? Nobody's been in my life for like 30 years, or actually 20 years. Right. 100%, Larry. Oh, because you protected all of them. Yes, you're heroes serving your country. No, we are now the Soviet Union. And Doge is the political officers. No, whatever the political officer said, you got to believe or they destroy you. Right. It's bullshit. They're not doing anything. We're making a mess. Like a bunch of kids in the mud making mud pies, saying they're making gourmet cookies and cakes. I guarantee they'll do a study on what Doge did by cutting all those programs, and they'll find it cost us more money than anything in the history of this country. Now, again, there is fraud, waste, and abuse, and that's obvious. What they did is they took the way we pay people that help us, they took those programs and they turned them into liberal things. If they just would have kept it neutral, again, it's probably not a good idea. Maybe they felt like that would be a good cover story, right? So maybe that was part of it. Like, what could we use? Like, if we show the interest in the wrong direction, like the Russians say, well, why? Or somebody else could say, why is the United States investing in that? So it looks like, again, there was run amok liberalism, but the foreign spies could say, well, why would the United States invest in that, right? So being that the administration was a liberal-minded government, they said, well, we'll just make some outrageous liberal programs and pay them that way. Well, some of those they can't tell you. You cut off spy payments. I can't tell you which one it is, and that's the way the system's built. Like, we don't know which ones are what. Some of them are just NGOs that help us. Right? If something comes up, they send us an intelligence report. Right? But there are eyes and ears. They are serving the nation in reality. So how does Doge have all that energy? I mean, they haven't shown us big balls, and they haven't shown us the other guys, when they flip out. But we've seen Elon when he flips out on drugs. Right. 100%, Larry. We agree. Sorry, Larry. I'm really sorry. Oh, maybe it's just Adderall or something like that. I guess people are into Adderall. So I was like, I was like front, it's the only way to be. So, because I'm really, they want to take that oath and all that, or not like an oath, but, interview for the baptism. And I said to him, I said, with the stuff I take, sometimes I'm tired. And, I don't want the doctor to prescribe me like methamphetamine, or not methamphetamine, amphetamines, because that's too strong. But the doctor, might say, drink some coffee, right? So I said, you're not supposed to drink coffee. He said, well, if the doctor tells you to do it, then you can do it. Right. I said, okay. Thanks, Larry. Well, I'm just telling you, I'm getting sick and tired of the false heroes. Right. And the problem is, by the time you get to the midterms, there's going to be data. And they're going to rub your face in it. Great. We don't know. I mean, the people at CIA know how many of those things you screwed up. Now, of course, State Department's supposed to take it over where they need to take it over. Well, again, you can be the pepperali. I mean, obviously, you were made millionaires and other things. You can be the big pepperali, but I got to tell you the truth. Right. Well, because I don't want the liberals so empowered that we go back to where it was. Well, if we can split the power, right? Because that's where it's going. I mean, Australia just elected the liberal government, or re-elected. You didn't even have 100 days of influence. I don't even think you had more than 30 days of influence after the election, in reality, as far as would you have won that election again. When you started appointing people had remorse for voting for Trump administration. Because they figured it ain't going to go the way he said it was. I'm so sorry. No, this was a hit, man, a major hit. What's going on here in Overland Park is at the level of the Soviet Union. They're disgusting, piggish people. Thanks, Larry. But again, it's criminal enterprise. It's not for the sake of communism. And again, all these communist judges. Well, that communist judge ruled in favor of you 6 months ago or a year ago. I mean, it just gets so stupid because that's going to come up. That how you condemn these judges, well, yet the judges supported Republican administrations or administrative lawsuits, not administrative lawsuits, right? Well, because then you just look like a crybaby with no validity, no reasoning. And now I hear that this guy the guy that's a chief of that shit is going to be the national security guy. I don't know if he is or not. What do you talk about a lost cause? Walks around laughing all day at stupid shit that isn't true. What I'm getting is he's the problem, one of the problems. But I knew there was somebody influencing Trump. Well, he sit around in that little world in the White House talking about communist judges and shit all day, and it's so far from the freaking truth. You have to get Trump back to reality. And if you got to take somebody away from him, then you need to do that. You can't bring him into national security if he's just talking shit all day. Well, the reality is whatever you're doing that's a necessity to have happened is going to go back into place in less than 4 years, or about 4 years. Right. Well, because you didn't do what I said. You have to manicure, you have to develop a program where they don't put you completely out. Correct. or whatever you're doing is fruitless, really. And I don't think Trump cares. I mean, he's an older man. I don't even know. I'm wondering if he's got limited years to live. I don't know. He seems like a man who really doesn't give a shit. Right. Oops. Sorry, Larry. I'm supposed to do this. No, you have to understand, this has happened. When it just happened, and I had this extreme health downturn, it's happened countless times before. And it's actually been progressing over the last 4 or 5 years because they won't stop. There is no way to fight it when you're a one man alone. So again, their ability to isolate me allowed them to do it. Their ability to stalk me, felony, federal stalking is going on in Overland Park, and you don't give a shit? I hope everything this nation is destroys every last one of you and every last thing that you have. So what they do is they put their people around you and make you afraid to talk about stalking because they say, oh no, you're stalking us. The old role reversal. It's going on everywhere. Should not have been in my life. There's no doubt about that. Not a single one of them has the intelligence to even be in my life. The appropriate intention. Their intentions are criminal. No, I'm telling you, before you're going to get shut down. You're all going to get shut down. I mean, all the government stuff. Because you're not listening to me. You have to take care of both sides of the world to a certain degree to maintain that steady cruise through the government. In fact, you need to look to see if you actually increased narcotics distribution and sex trafficking because you pulled all the law enforcement off the other efforts. But again, they live in $1 million houses in Overland Park, in Olathe, in Lenexa. That was weird. Now, the call head didn't have the normal titles. So when they live in these big houses, they're okay because they're Trump's type of people, right? I mean, is what we're supposed to believe? No, you'll go to hell. You all have the capability to stop it, and you buried your head in the sand, all of you. Correct. Again, the Bible says when you're given, it's expected. It's expected that you return all of you. Are you not a Christian? Well, too bad. Should have been probably. But again, the church is so corrupt. Who knows? I guess my neighbor's family's over to look at our new vehicle. Right. Nice little tracks, but it's like an upscale model. I'm happy for her. Her life looks like it's picking up. If I was a young guy, I'd show interest to make her feel good. I suspect I have something to do with it. Inside, that is. Right. Thank you, Larry. Actually, a good person, though. So I'm hoping that, I get my health up a little bit more. But again, one of the keys was I didn't know is my cranial tissue massage. If I'd have probably done that in Tyler, Texas, it would have probably been over. Everything would have relaxed. So again, they know these things because this has happened to me before, right? So I need to get to something right now. It's my allergy meds. Meanwhile, all the real criminals and all the real pedophiles, they're living a life of Riley. So again, what's it called? The planet is upside down, and God knows. 100%. Well, Dave, I'd be that church guy and wouldn't say nothing. They would hit my life again. And then get it all for free, right? Well, the Book of Mormon does have warring in there, and I'm not going to physically war you, but God will. Well, somebody had some issue, and they tied it to some wrong behavior by LDS people. They had issue with some of the stronger wording in the Book of Mormon. And I wondered about it, and now God just gave me the answer. Of course, it's appropriate. Right? Because there are these people I speak about. So who are those that sought the destruction in the Book of Mormon of God's people? These people. And how are they doing it? The way I'm telling you, it's metaphysical. And who are they? The people who go to hell. They're devils, demons, antichrists, witches, and sorcerers. And they are bound for hell. So in the Book of Mormon, you find that they're obliterated. Again, they eventually did kill Joseph Smith. So when you think, if they approach you to do something psychologically to a new member of your church or an older member of your church, whatever it is, step away from it or you'll go to hell with them. Bottom line. I'm not here to make things dangerous in the church, but it's obvious that the things have been dangerous in the church for decades. And people that have been harming children are just starting to get arrested. And like I told you, that's the hook that they use on these churches. They don't even probably know if the preacher did it. They have what's like a fishing expedition. They go in there and they launch all this extortionate fishing expedition data at the church, at the preacher, and then they come in when it's ripe and say, okay, I need you to do this. Right. Because they don't care. They're not about lawful and unlawful. Right. They're just about manipulating everything for personal gain, for criminal gain. I got to keep walking. So what they do is they have their face people, and then eventually they disappear them for a period of time. Then they'll bring them back at a certain time. They just did that to one group of people or a couple of people that they were using. Right. I guess they put them up somewhere. And they might write it up like they're in danger. It's a scam. Right. And then they like spend all this money relocating them and putting them somewhere in a safe house for a while. That's the kind of shit they do. They're absolute garbage, trash, and filth. They're supporting narcotics distribution and sex trafficking. And are taking money from pedophiles not to investigate the pedophile. The worst thing to be is a average pedophile. If you're a very wealthy pedophile, very rarely will anything happen to you because they just guide you where to pay the money. That's what's actually happening in the country. So if they don't think you have enough money, right, and they'll get you arrested or whatever and say they're great investigators. Thank you, Larry. So again, you have to understand that hundreds and hundreds of people, maybe even thousands of government people that were part of the thing that attacked me don't have jobs now. Oh my God. But there are Republicans that are still there that are part of it. That's the scam. Right. It's trading one cell of the deep state for another. And it isn't better, believe me, because they're not even, like, they'll make you believe they're Christian. They'll make you believe that they're conservative, but they're not. Just like the liberals do the same thing. Right? It's just they're playing their game out. They pick a political ideology to be a criminal in. Right? They're criminals. That's who they are. The mob took over the planet. That's really what's going on. And there's different, entities of mob. So again, there's Republican cancel culture. There's Republican, all the stuff that's in that they talk about the Democrats. It's just projection on some cases. Like, of course, not everybody does it, but right. Republicans have cancel culture. Trump has bigger cancel culture than the Democrats. But again, it's just the way of the planet at this point. What do you think firing all those people is? Cancel culture. Agreed. No, I should have rinsed my sinuses first. And I didn't. So it's happening now. I don't know what curse they used, but if I schedule an appointment, it's going to overlap another appointment or be when the other appointment. So again, I have to be very careful because they did something so that it doesn't just like. So I start making appointments and everything works perfectly, and I really don't have to think that hard about it. And then they start cursing and cursing and cursing and cursing, and launching spells. And then all of a sudden, every appointment I made interferes with another appointment. I have to go and reschedule the appointment. Now, if it gets bad enough, I won't figure it out, and I'll miss appointments. Right? And it almost did. I had to go back and look at some appointments. Right. So again, the things they're doing are what I say they are. Their explanation of the world is criminal. Being criminal and is criminal. It is devilish, and they will go to hell. There's no way out. The Bible describes a group of people with it. There's no way out. And again, God judges the heart. God judges the inside. God judges the things that we wrestle against. Well, what it's saying is, put on. Okay, so this is where Christians go wrong. And again, they do it because why? They're living a perfect life because they've been in the church and somebody gave them money, and some of them are deep state, for crying out loud. I mean, they're just who I say they are, right? So they're going to cling to this. Why? Because they're special people, because they live a different life than other people that can't get there. So it tells you that we do not wrestle against flesh and blood. It says put on the full armor of God, but it doesn't tell you that in every case that it's going to work. They just assume that's what it says. Thank you, Larry. Again, the scripture will tell you that it's not going to work in every case. Because why? Because it speaks about causing another to fall. Now, what they do is they say it's only about children. You see? The little one in the scripture is about humble people. Right. I was definitely a little one, and I was developing that in my life, and then they killed me. I only live by the grace of God. They spent decades upon decades upon decades. And again, when I say that, you can't see it because they've blocked it. They've caused us to be devoid of emotion. They're devils, man. They didn't keep us safe. They made it so unsafe that you let them do whatever they wanted. They stalked me. I didn't stalk them. I went certain places and they put the operation in there, and those people were there by the nature of being there. I've got concern for the safety of all those communities. And of course, they're not safe. As you saw the murder by that organization that called itself Ghost, that was supposedly looking for pedophiles. Turns out the guy's a pedophile. If you go back a few years, he was the pedophile. Right. And I'm almost positive they were around me. Wait. They don't tell you that part. If you go back and look at the ages of the girls, right, and you go back and look at his age, he was a pedophile. Right. And of course, they woke up from sleeping in bed together, and one woman killed the other woman at his behest. But this is who these people are, man. There's big bosses that they were working for at the time. And if that hadn't happened, they'd go up through life and they don't have nothing to worry about. They give them money, they give them businesses, give them jobs. So to go back to it, yes, it is in the interest of the United States to promote alpaca farming in Peru because the alternative is coca cultivation. Now, I understand Doge and Elon Musk may not care about narcotics, and they actually think it has a valid use in the world. So again, the administration needs to look at the facts and figures in reference to sex trafficking and narcotics distribution. You have to make sure that focusing on immigration that hard hasn't increased those other crimes and given them opportunity. In fact, narcotics distributors may be laughing because nobody's coming into their neighborhood to deport anybody. The narcotics bosses. They're so mad, they're cursing me now. Hopefully you can scan, somebody's scanning them and seeing what they're saying and doing. Right. Who they're calling. Right. Where they go after I say such things. Right. No, I do not think that, I don't know, what's that guy's name? Stephen Miller. I don't think he's well for the president. He just lives in a fantasy world. Right. Well, that fantasy world is going to cause a disruption on the other side. All right, so I need to find something. I sent an email to somebody. I might need to make a phone call because they can better block emails than they can phone calls. They're in the middle of my VA stuff, I can tell now. So they caused that stuff in 2013 to get lost. They just hacked the computer. They don't care. They hack government computers from government all the time. Who's going to say anything? Right. I think they're trying to make banging calls and man. No, they'll go to hell. Again, there's no satisfaction on this planet. We knew that, but what happens is the neo-traditional church. It's not really a traditional church, but it calls itself traditional Christianity. It actually ruined what Jesus came to do. And then, so they changed this idea where if you have money on this planet, that Jesus and God love you, and that that's a sign. It was nice this morning. It's getting kind of nasty. Probably because the pollen was down. I actually fared better last month than I thought. Financially, that is. All right, so I have to find this email. Doesn't look like anybody got back to me. Well, you didn't want the Christian Larry, so he's gone. I mean, I'm still Christian, but the other guy, you didn't want him. You thought you were going to harass him and torture him out of the church. So I would say somebody in the LDS Church has verified that I speak about. Right. Please. Ooh, they kind of bumped that. It's their will. So again, there are wills that oppose God on this planet. This is not God's planet. Right. And those are up. Let's see what this is. I'm going to have to call this guy soon. I don't think I have his phone number. Let's have the standard phone number. Darn it. Yeah, get in touch with my attorney. We should be gathering medical evidence first before we do anything else, and he can provide that form. Right. So it is what it is. It isn't what it isn't. So again, we've got people all over the planet that are devils running around. Well, what's going to happen is if you live in a fantasy world with Stephen, if Trump lives in a fantasy world with Stephen Miller, the court's going to chew them up, right? Because it's just fantasy, right? And when it comes time, they're going to say, "Look, what is Trump? What is Trump's people actually saying?" They already said that there's already out in the news that these judges backed Republican cases routinely. Some are like Reagan appointees and everything. I mean, can you imagine Stephen Miller calling Reagan appointees communist? I mean, what, again, just like Doge being the service to the nation. Thank you, Larry. I'm pretty free with that. I tell nurses thank you for your service and stuff like that because I believe in that. But again, I'm not going there. The jury's still out on Doge. It looks like they're going to screw up everything. I can say, well, they got rid of some liberal stuff. And yeah, I agree, it was pretty whack, but there's a reality to a lot of that. What you need to do is start doing to them what they did to me and what they do to me, and maybe they'll go away. In other words, I'm not in anyone's life. There was no reason for any of this to be done to me. I'm not trying to have sex with anybody's daughter. In fact, your daughter, I'm a blessing, right? Because I bless people that I see, right? And like most of them, a couple of them, I say, well, once you be an agent, you make a good agent, you pay attention to detail, that kind of thing. Right? And I never had sex with anybody in the government, okay? But yet the people that are doing all this, they have sex with people all the time in their careers. Right? Again, a lot of them have STDs, and they just want to give everybody else STD. So you've allowed them to operate into people's lives to cause STDs. It's just devils trying to effectuate hell, all of you. That's all they are. The rest is an illusion. Sorry for. No, you're not sorry. If you were sorry, my life would have picked up. God gave me all the ammunition I need to repel your bullshit. And again, the word ammunition is a neutral kind of figurative use of it. Thank you, Larry. Because oh, he said ammunition. That's a war word. He's going to do something. Alert dogs. We need to. That's what it's like. It's like some stupid kids cartoon playing out in the government. So he goes on to be like, oh, this is a neutral forum. Oh, these are our heroes. Thank you for stopping alpaca farming in Peru. And that's why we do that. There's no doubt. I mean, this just shows their ignorance. Like you can go to John Bolton, right, who hates liberal stuff probably more than Trump does. Tell you why. You can say, why, John Bolton? Why do we do alpaca farming in in Peru? He says so they won't grow cocaine. Give them alternative economy. I'm sorry. Tone it down a little bit. Trying to make something that's not sellable. Well, I don't know if they ever talk about it, but their choice of liberal programming was kind of BS. But you cut off payments, intelligence payments. All right. I mean, I don't know if that'll ever go public. So it just shows you that they still don't know what they're doing. Well, I'm telling you, the DEA, that's like a DEA program or DEA suggested program. Right. Well, if we can cut down a couple, farms or farm locations, I mean, again, you have to start somewhere. And again, why is the war on drugs a failure? Because it's corrupt. Because people are taking kickbacks. Right. Not an absolute failure. Apparently, they're killing the Narcan funding. Trump's program. Right. No, I'm not going to elevate Doge to Medal of Honor winners. We're just not going to do that. we're gonna stop that at its base and root. Right. So this guy drops out of college just so he can serve his country. You realize they spend as much money as they want. All right. He's not living some basic training life, suffering because he dropped out of college. So again, the government service. Now, if somebody's a political operator, it's one thing. But if somebody took a case that you don't like and worked that case, that has nothing to do. There's no reason to fire them. So what's going to happen is the judges eventually are going to get that case, and the judge is going to say, "You're the FBI, Kash Patel, Donald Trump, Bondi, their Justice Department president, FBI." Right? They were assigned a case. Correct. they did what they were supposed to in that case. You're saying that they should be fired or demoted because of that case. Now, the demoted thing may not be real. Kash Patel said that he's going to move people out to the field. The question is, what is that breakdown? Well, if I move 200 agents out to the field and 100 were on cases not friendly to the administration, it doesn't mean that that's why I did it, unless that's why they did it again, right? Well, because I was reading it, and they said demoted, and then they said the job at headquarters is more, or like in terror, like at Quantico or headquarters is more prestigious. And I thought, well, this is what Kash said he was going to do. He's going to move everybody out of those jobs and put them in the field, right? Because they said they became supervisors. So what are they? Supervisors in the field, I would assume, right? So I don't know if that particular news article is accurate on several fronts. Thanks, sir. Well, it's just like saying like if you look at everybody who's there, and I don't know how many gay people are in the FBI, but you say, oh, he demoted the gay people, and then you look and it's just there are gay people because gay people are in the FBI, so some of the people are going to be gay. All right, it doesn't mean that he's demoting gay people. Thank you, Mary. Like wackos. They say stuff like they're not sorry under the mind. I'm not sorry we did this. Because that's what they're taught to do. Like that gives them power. So Satan teaches them to say stuff like that. So again, Satan runs an anti-repentance program in the deep state. Well, I can't approve of that stupid shit that Stephen Miller's fucking saying. I mean, these are great judges. Some are Reagan appointees. They're judges that, you don't hear Texas. You hear some coming from Texas because they're part of the Trump machine, but you don't hear them going heavy because they had a slew of lawsuits that these judges helped out with, going against the Biden administration. Texas getting too heavy on that, although they do talk about it every so often. 100%. Well, you're essentially condemning your lawsuit. At that point, a previous lawsuit, because the judge is a nutbag, right? Well, where the Democrats made a mistake also was ruling with it, right? Ruling like they did. That's why a lot of people were fast to accept Trump, because they figure that rule would be over, that they could live more of a free life, right? Right. Again, that's why they didn't want to take a chance staying with Harris. For Trump may let him, respect the billionaires and the corporate world. Well, the idea that the United States should be a self-contained business world doesn't necessarily give us the best equation. We have the idea where union labor mixed with immigrant labor, U.S. products mixed with cheaper foreign products. What we got to do is we got to select what we want. What do you want to build in the United States that's feasible, that makes sense, and that you can actually manipulate versus China just laughing at us and thumbing their nose at us. Right. Well, the president goes down in the polls because of economy. Correct, Larry. No, it's an influence program. A lot of that stuff in USAID is an influence program, and there's people. Again, that's wrong for them to influence. But I'm saying it's US. We're hiring people in foreign nations and sending money to foreign nations, essentially to buy them off, and then they help us. It's kind of like a not so secret in the open spy program, right? Right. We agree, sir. We agree. So, what could we do for what? I'm not receiving whatever that is. Well, you have to do what I'm saying, right? You got to get back to reality. Again, it's a mix propaganda, right? But it's a mix of propaganda and reality. You're too far outside of reality, so you come off as this. Just that's why they're calling you what they call them, a tyrant or um, a dictator or whatever, because you're outside of the norm. Yeah, again, there's a normal flow of information, and some of it is propaganda, and some of it is reality. And if you're not within reality, you live in a free world. You're not going to stop. Actually, in a certain point, the judges are going to shut you down if you keep harassing media and everything else. Well, because it's obvious that there are conservative media outlets that you favor, right? So they exist. It's just the same thing, but on the other side. I mean, I don't think that's been approached yet. I mean, it was approached before. Correct, sir. Well, in a court case, you're going to get sued because they're going to show how it's just based upon your politics. It's not based upon any wrongdoing by any other entity or by a media entity. Something from FBI right here. Oh, what's his name's here? Labeling man. What's that guy's name? Hugh Hefner. Hugh Hefner's around. I guess he's walking the earth. What happens is you can be in a purgatory like life, and God will have you go around and they'll see Larry's life and go, I can't believe this guy's living this life. Yes, he's been here the whole time with you. That kind of thing. I get a lot of spirits visiting me. Thank you, Larry. Thanks, Larry. I don't know. I'm getting a lot of questions on what to do, and well, you have to just go back to reality. Well, if the president gets bad publicity, Biden got bad publicity. I mean, you wouldn't have made it into office if Biden didn't get bad publicity. Correct. I mean, actually, nobody played up, his market and all that, which was fabulous. Well, rich people weren't suffering. It was just, people that didn't have a stock market. And even if you listen to what I said, it's getting everybody in the stock market, right? We'll through like a Social Security thing. Right. And then eventually it would probably work their way into investments or private investments. No, I couldn't get to it. I tried to do a whole bunch of different stuff. I just found out my neighbors are probably from New Mexico. They got a Zeo in their vehicle. Yeah, I thought she was native, and she really doesn't. She's not comfortable talking to anybody. The husband speaks out a little bit. But I don't get I don't get anything for what I've really done on the planet. God, these allergies. 5% worry. I've taken care of so many Native Americans. It's not even funny. 5%. But most of my Americans really have a time of day for me. Again, if I wasn't inhibited, we would have had a what do they call it? Whatever clan? What do they call bear clan? We'd had a bear clan in Santa Fe. But they were destroying me. I couldn't get to it. I mean, we did it on the side. We helped, Native Americans that were having issues on the street, or with their family the best we could. Possibly. It's so funny because with zero fat mozzarella cheese, you could just kind of you can put it on anything anymore. Like I make like an English muffin and I put some sauce on there. I have like pizza sauce and I put some cheese on there. Otherwise, you'd be like, well, let's save that for a special meal because all the fat, right? And they focus on killing me so much. My idea of fat-free cheese is starting to take off. They use all their energy to kill me. But my opinion is that, again, mozzarella worked well, but the cheddar didn't work. You need some like good fats in the cheddar, like monounsaturated poly, and then that should give you the texture you want. It was too rubbery and dry. To just say zero sat fat, and then you'll sell it. Right? Oh my god! Because mono and poly or saturated fats are well. I'm gonna have to go do a nasal rinse, I guess. Something's going on. My other thing's going to get here today. They said the postal service was going to deliver uh, my supply chamber for my Sinugator, and I needed some part for the one I ordered that I tried to return because they left it outside without a box, and I told them what I needed in part, and then all of a sudden it looks like they sent another one from Amazon, but the factory, like the manufacturer, said we'll give you another one instead of just sending a part. I guess they can't, right? But they gave me a TBA number, which is a Amazon delivery number. correct, sir. And I can't track it down unless somebody's pulling my leg. Right. Well, sometimes when you talk to people on Amazon, you're talking to like security people. You're not talking to like an operator. So if they wanted to, scam me, they could do that. They've done it, so I'm not embarrassed to say it. I just don't know if this is one of those moments. Well, theoretically, it should deliver within a day if they ordered it from Amazon, right? Because that's the window, delivery window is like a day, right, for the item. But again, they've done shit to me all along. I'm sure they'll go to hell. I mean, just because they work for Amazon doesn't mean God grandfathered them in because they do charity. Again, you can't buy your way into heaven. Hopefully, Bezos knows that. And Mr. Jaffe or Jassy. It was my uncle's name was Mr. Jaffe. Yeah, we didn't make $1 million. We had double F. He had double F in his name. He had a pretty good life, but his wife did die kind of young compared to how old he was. I think he's still alive. I don't know. My Uncle Lenny. I had Uncle Lenny and Uncle Herbie. Right. Oh my God. Thanks, Larry. They worked for. I think they both worked for Pathmark. Worked for supermarkets. Like back in the day, supermarket was a good job, especially when they were in management. So it used to be a great job. They paid good. I don't know what they pay now. Right. So we used to go over, like for holidays, go over to their house and exchange gifts and different stuff. Right. And then I saw my Uncle Lenny when I went to my brother's wedding. My life kind of started tanking after that. Right. Right there. I just healed my neighbor. Let's see if this is here yet. That lady's got a nice flex. She's got a dark gray flex. I kind of wish I'd have bought something like that. How you doing? These people should have been stopped after I left the government, and I guess there was an effort to stop them. Oh well. Johnson County, the best times. And then it opens to the page. Cremations start at $12.95. That's the Lord. I wonder if I have any packages here. Maybe here's the Amazon guy. Maybe he's got it. Thank you, Mary. It got kind of warm. It was nice this morning. That's what I do in life when I help people. Oh, he's got a lot of packages. How you doing, sir?
Great. How about you, man?
I'm making it, right? Just still out walking around, getting my exercise to try to drop my weight. These people caused health problems the whole time, all of you. They're very sick people. Destroying people's psychology and their physical health, their psychological health, and their physical health. Pieces of garbage, every last one of them. But we got millions of dollars. Oh, okay, yeah, keep saying that when you're in hell. It's not a test here, but God can use it to evaluate all of you. Right? They try to say, well, is the planet a test? Is that why we're here? Like, no. While you're here, though, God can't leave you around innocent creation. God's got to move you away from them all. Here's the weird part. And again, they'll flame me for it, but again, they're shifting people's heads, and they're doing it with psyop. They can do it with just simple spells, right? On a lot of people, right? So when they reveal themselves in that fashion, sexualizing people with physical operation, with psychological operation, then we know these are the devils that are adulterating sexuality. See? No, God says they can't be around people. It quote unquote has to end. Right. So that's partly why at least humankind will probably meet an end date on the planet, if not the planet be ruined. Because they are the mind of all of the things that are going on. They are the hate mind. They are the, all the things the Bible says you shouldn't do, they're causing it to occur. So that's why there's an out for people without even seeing Jesus. Again, if you do not see, your sins will not get held against you. Then in the scripture, there is a line in the scripture, plain as day, everybody knows, the God of this world, or should know, the God of this world is blind their minds lest they see the glorious gospel of Jesus Christ. Therefore, because this is the one a lot of preachers would say, and before I had the real data, I'd be like, well, I don't know. Because they would say that people that are given the gospel, like verbally, like if I tell you about Jesus Christ and you don't accept it, then you're bound for hell. Like they make that delineation. But wait a minute, if the God of this world is blind their mind, lest they see the glorious gospel of Jesus Christ, so anybody that's part of that blinding is going to hell. So again, why didn't God? So some said, well, is that why God didn't say this before? It's just so he could catch us? Like, see, they're trying to make it some sort of test. No, this is just supposed to be a place of innocence where people live innocently. But when you do that other stuff, God will deal with it. So what happens is they're born again on this planet, again in a demonic way. They stay on the planet. This is their planet, actually. You're a pilgrim here. This is their planet. So there is reincarnation. Jews believe in a certain level of reincarnation. God told me it's a mixture of reincarnation and just one life. Right? Paul says I think Paul said that we live this one life. So that's an indication that Christians will live one life. Real Christians, that is. Some of them are just the devils that are reborn on this planet. They take over Christianity and they ruin the work of Christ. No, I mean LDS love my information. It's just I'm not their usual, the usual cup of tea, their usual demeanor, usual. I tried, but they wouldn't let me be there. So the devils came and accosted my life. We'll go away, Larry. We promise. No, they just did it yesterday. Had a stalker. Had a couple stalkers. They put a birthday on there on a license plate. It's supposed to make me paranoid. Well, I mean, the Bible says what it says, and I know there's emotion within you because Satan puts it in you that says, "Oh, that's not fair." I don't think no. If you can't see it, then you're not culpable for it. Thank you, Larry. What I'm hearing is that the ones that actually are in the church and have perverted the gospel, and again, they go, oh yeah, the LGBTQ or the Trump MAGA Christians. Well, it is who it is. Right? The devil is in the details, and what they're doing is they're distorting it and using it for for self-dealing purposes. I kind of liked the gathering we had last night at the church. Not the church, it's somebody's house. So again, those are good people. But when I go to church, I just get a weird feeling, and again, could be because the deep state's in there already, right? Yeah. I mean, they could be launching curses at me while I'm in church. Right? So I don't know if I'm going to go to church on Sunday or just watch it. I have to heal, and I could be possibly finding a way to heal a little bit more. These people should not have been in my life. It's just the bottom line. There is no reason. Again, they're creating the issue that they say shouldn't be, and the issue isn't what they say it is. Right. Okay. Here's an example. Like you have the LGBTQ left, and they say, we think this about trans people. You have the LGBTQ right, and we say we think this about trans people. They're both wrong. Right. Me, I'm right down the middle, and I told you what you need to do to figure it out, just to make sure that that we can't fix it. I think we can. Right. Yeah. So you see, but that's true about everything I do. Right. Why? Because I listen to God. Again, that's what people would say about me back when I was in spiritual school. Well, at least you listen. Right. You're all not listening. Having eyes you see not, having ears you hear not. Right. Thank you, Larry. Vice versa. I hate these allergens. They make me feel like shit. Pretty much. So I am taking like an inflammation remedy that might work. I got to be careful I don't fry my stomach with it. But it's something I used to take all the time when I had some issues. I just, if you buy it enough, they curse it and will it down, and then you can't get to it. So that's pretty much what's happened. I work on trans people all the time. I connect. I see what they say. I see what somebody might do to me around it. Right. That's how you know it's metaphysical. I can see the projections. There's a certain level of truth to the. How you doing? There's a certain level of truth to the idea that that you shouldn't hang out with people that are deep in sin because it could rub off on you. That could happen. Right? But do you know what that is? Right? It's kind of like a save yourself thing. It isn't that they're rubbing off on you. They carry curses, and they carry will down, will that down wills them down, so they can't not sin. So what that's doing is it's actually somebody else. It could be your preacher that curses them. All right. No, I believe that there's something that could cure the majority, if not all, of the gender dysphoria. I believe that, where they don't have to be transgender. But until we provide that world, again, it's not their fault. Again, you can't. We don't get mad at people that have contract a certain disease, right? It's a psychological disease per se, right? They've got an illness, right? So if you get mad at them, you're getting mad at the patient, and that's kind of weird. See, so that's why I say you carry yourself a certain way. Like we don't agree that children should be taken into that world, right? But if it happens to them, we have to allow something. Right? We can't deny that it's happening. But if we don't move forward and provide the cure, then we're not really, we're playing a game with people at that point. We're saying you can't be it, but we're not going to provide the cure. I believe it's hormonal. I believe you can provide just as you can provide a hormonal cure as far as taking them to be feminine, because it works like this. the psychological process of being a man and the psychological process of being a woman and does involve hormonal things and some other things, chemicals in the body and the brain. See, we got to figure, but we got to figure out what it is. We don't know. It isn't as simple as saying I'm going to inject you with testosterone. Although some people it would work, they'd be like, they'd be playing football. It'd be the best darn picture you ever saw. But I think some it would work to give anti-estrogen and give them testosterone. But I don't think that that's the whole process. Could be a combination of things, a chemical. Well, the endocrinology is it's a very deep science, and there's tons of endocrinological issues. But I'll tell you something that is also metaphysical. So what does that mean? So if I were to remove that curse, if I were to heal that person, they might find something that makes them not feel feminine, something that makes them not feel to be a woman. It's real. It's metaphysical. Now, some of that is, this is what I tell the people. Okay, so again, you got people that desire to have sex with gay sex, desire to have trans sex. Make sure you're not creating it, like causing somebody to be trans so you can have sex with. Because if you want to have sex with somebody that's trans today, 10 years ago they may have started that movement because you want it today and you have power to do that. So what you do is you just make parameters that you can't change, things like that. Again, your life, you may not be as rich, but again, you won't go to hell. All right. Well, I surmise part of the increase in transgender is just that. People from now on into the future are desiring to have partners that are transgender more so, and they use their will in their life. So they willed it up. Now, there's another side to that. Because transgender people are hated, and a lot of people, uh, they get satisfaction from hating on them. You can use it to manipulate another person and hate on another person, get other people to hate on another person. They're willing it up also. Well, I think you need to study it from a hormonal, or actually, let me say, from an endocrinological um, angle. Thank you, Larry. Well, oh darn it, this thing wasn't charging. It got me. I'll have to call them and tell them about it. The case on this one is just hate to return so much stuff. One of my chargers for my hearing aids is just, if one doesn't sit just perfectly in there, it doesn't charge. It'll probably just tell me to make sure it's charging each time if it did. No, when I got here, I went to the hospital for vertigo. That's when I was supposed to see the ENT. But they attacked me as soon as I came out of that hospital. Right. Make sure. Again, you try to figure out what they're doing, and it's impossible to realize. So what they're trying to do is destroy the follow-up care, and did. Thank you, Larry. So when you're younger, like 40 or 50, they go, well, he's got his whole life ahead of him. But then when you get older, they go, oh, he's already lived his life. Meanwhile, none of the above is true. Thank you. Yeah, I kind of cut my mustache straight off last time. Satan got me before I go to that baptismal thing. So it is what it is. All right, I'm gonna go here and I'm gonna try to see what this sounded like as far as volume and clarity. We'll